How are you guys doing? Today is Friday, March 25th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Thursday, March 24th. And before I preview everything that's going on today, I'm going to take a quick step back and take a look at where we are in the calendar year. Now that March is about a week away from being over, they are still in the midst of March Madness. Looking first at the men's bracket, there are now 12 teams left competing for the 2022 men's title, as the second day of the Sweet 16 will be played today, and the Elite 8 round will start tomorrow. In the women's side of the bracket, the Sweet 16 will actually start today. It will be played today and tomorrow, as the Elite 8 for the women's bracket is set to start on Sunday. So of course, both of those matchups are underway as we are in the second weekend of March Madness. In the NBA, teams are starting to sort themselves out as a third team in the NBA has clinched a playoff spot. And of course, with soccer overseas and even in the United States, we are seeing teams that are trying to compete for the FIFA World Cup. So with that said, I'm going to start with college basketball, looking first at the men's bracket because the men's bracket is a day ahead of the women's bracket. Starting first with the West Region's Sweet 16 matchup between its 1 and 4 seeds. The first seed Gonzaga Bulldogs would face off against the 4 seed Arkansas Razorbacks. This particular matchup took place in San Francisco. And looking at how these seeds got here, the 1 seed Gonzaga Bulldogs made it here after beating the 16 seed Georgia State Panthers by 21 in the first round. They went on to beat Memphis by 4 in the second round to make it here. 4 seed Arkansas ended up beating 13 seed Vermont by 4 in the first round. They ended up beating 12 seed New Mexico State in the second round to make it here. In this Sweet 16 matchup, the 4 seed Arkansas Razorbacks out of the SEC would beat the Gonzaga Bulldogs, who won the West Coast Conference Championship this year. Arkansas won this game 74-68. They would win this game by 6 after outscoring the Bulldogs by 3 in each half. On the losing end of this matchup, the top seed Gonzaga Bulldogs were led in scoring by their starting forward, Drew Timme. Their junior out of Richardson, Texas, would go on to finish with 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 turnovers in 37 minutes. He shot 9 for 19 from the field and 7 for 8 from the foul line. Gonzaga starting center, Chet Holmgren, their freshman out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, will go on to finish with 11 points, 14 rebounds, and 2 blocks as he fouled out in 23 minutes in his final game with Gonzaga, more than likely. He would go on to shoot 5 for 9 from the field, and he would go on to shoot 1 for 3 from 3, as the next time you hear from Chet Holmgren will probably be when he gets drafted this summer. On the winning end of this matchup, the 4 seed Arkansas Razorbacks were led in scoring by their starting guard, J.D. Notae, out of Covington, Georgia. Their senior point guard would finish with 21 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and 5 turnovers in 38 minutes. He shot 9 for 29 from the field, and he made 1 of his 2 free throw attempts. Arkansas starting forward, Jalen Williams, their sophomore from Fort Smith, Arkansas, will go on to finish with 15 points and 12 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 5 for 12 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 3 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the 4 seed Arkansas Razorbacks out of the SEC will advance to the Elite 8 round of this tournament with a 28-8 record. They will face off against the 2 seed Duke Blue Devils tomorrow at 8:49 in San Francisco, California. But I'll get to how Duke got there in a second. With this loss, the 1 seed Gonzaga Bulldogs, the 21-22 West Coast Conference champs, will finish their 2021-22 season with a 28-4 record after another pretty solid season in the books. Taking a look at the second game that took place yesterday in the South Region Sweet 16 bracket, as this matchup took place in San Antonio, Texas. The 2 seed Villanova Wildcats would face off against the 11 seed Michigan Wolverines. 2 seed Villanova made it to the Sweet 16 in the South Region after they won their first 2 games in Pittsburgh. They beat 5th seed Delaware by 20, and then they beat 7 seed Ohio State by 10 in the second round. 11 seed Michigan played their games in Indianapolis as they beat 6 seed Colorado State by 12. Then they ended up beating 3 seed seed Tennessee by 8. In the Sweet 16 matchup, 2nd seed Villanova, the Big East champions this year, would end up beating the 11 seed Michigan Wolverines 63-55. Villanova won this game by 8 after they outscored Michigan by 5 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 11 seed Michigan Wolverines were led in scoring by their starting center Hunter Dickinson. Their sophomore out of Alexandria, Virginia, will go on to finish with 15 points, 15 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 31 minutes. He shot 6 for 16 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 2nd seed Villanova Wildcats were led in scoring by their starting forward Jermaine Samuels. Their senior out of Franklin, Massachusetts, would go on to finish with 22 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, all in 35 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the 2nd seed Villanova Wildcats out of the Big East will advance to the Elite 8 round with a 29-7 record. Their next matchup will be against the 5 seed Houston Cougars tomorrow at 6:09. They will be the first Elite 8 matchup of 4. And with this loss, the 11 seed Michigan Wolverines out of the Big Ten will finish their 2021-22 season with a 19-15 record. As with this loss, the remaining Big Ten team is Purdue. I'm looking at the third matchup that took place. Looking back at the West Region Sweet 16, the 2nd seed Duke Blue Devils would face off against the 3 seed Texas Tech Red Raiders. This would be the second game in San Francisco. 2nd seed Duke made it here after beating 15 state Cal State Fullerton by 17 in the first round. They would go on to beat 7 seed Michigan State by 9 in the second round. And then the 3rd seed Texas Tech Red Raiders would make it here after beating 14 seed Montana State by 35 in the first round. They beat 11 seed Notre Dame by 6 in the second round. In this Sweet 16 matchup, the 2 seed Duke Blue Devils, representing my alma mater, would end up beating the 3 seed Texas Tech Red Raiders 78-73 to advance to the Elite 8. They won this matchup by 5 after outscoring Texas Tech by 9 in the second half to overcome their 4-point deficit at the half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 3 seed Texas Tech Red Raiders were led in scoring by their starting forward Bryson Williams. Their senior out of Fresno, California, would go on to finish with 21 points and 5 rebounds in his last game of the year. In 34 minutes, he shot 8 for 16 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. Texas Tech starting forward Kevin O. Banner, their senior from Houston, Texas, would go on to finish with 10 points and 10 rebounds in 38 minutes. He shot 4 for 10 from the field, and he shot 2 for 4 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the 2nd seed Duke Blue Devils were led in scoring by their starting forward Paolo Bancaro. Their freshman forward out of Seattle will go on to finish with 22 points and 3 steals in 37 minutes. He shot 7 for 12 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the 2nd seed Duke Blue Devils out of the ACC will advance to the Elite 8 round with a 31-6 record. As their next matchup will be against the 4 seed Arkansas Razorbacks. They will be playing at 8:49 tomorrow. They will be the second game of the day. This will be in San Francisco. And then on the losing end of this matchup, the 3 seed Texas Tech Red Raiders out of the Big 12, who I think won the Big 12 tournament, will finish their 2021-22 season with a 27-10 record. Looking at the fourth and final game of yesterday, going back to the South Region Sweet 16, the 1 seed in the South Region, the Arizona Wildcats, would face off against the 5 seed Houston Cougars. 1 seed Arizona made it here after beating 16 seed Wright State by 17 in the first round. They would go on to beat 9 seed TCU by 5, as both of those games were in San Diego. 5 seed Houston would win both their games in Pittsburgh, as they beat 12 seed UAB by 14 in the first round. Then they beat 4 seed Illinois by 15 in the second round. In the Sweet 16 matchup, 5 seed Houston would beat 1 seed Arizona 72-60. They would go on to win this game by 12 after they outscored 1 seed Arizona by 6 in both halves. On the losing end of this matchup, the top seed Arizona Wildcats were led in scoring by their starting guard, Dalen Terry. Arizona starting sophomore out of Phoenix, Arizona, will go on to finish with 17 points and 6 rebounds in 38 minutes. In his last game, he shot 6 for 9 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 5 seed Houston Cougars were led in scoring by their starting guard, Jamal Sheed. Their sophomore out of Manor, Texas, will go on to finish with 21 points, 6 assists, and 5 turnovers, as well as 2 steals in 38 minutes. He shot 5 for 16 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and he shot 9 for 10 from the foul line. With this win, the 5 seed Houston Cougars out of the American Athletic Conference will advance to the Elite 8 with a 32-5 record, as their next matchup will be against the 2 seed Villanova Wildcats. This will be in San Antonio tomorrow at 6:09. It will be the first Elite 8 game that will be played to determine who will go to the Final Four. And taking a look at who they're going to be playing, Houston is going to be facing off against 2 seed Villanova after Villanova beat 11 seed Michigan. On the losing end of this matchup, the 1 seed Arizona Wildcats, who won the Pac-12 this year, will finish their 2021-22 season with a 33-4 record. So right now, there are 12 teams that are left competing in the NCAA tournament. But with that said, the remaining 4 games in this Sweet 16 round to determine who will go to the Elite 8 will be played today at 7:09 on CBS in the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. In the East region, the 3 seed Purdue Boilermakers will face off against the 15 seed St. Peter's Peacocks. Purdue made it all the way to this round after they won their first round matchup against 14 seed Yale. They won by 22 points. In the second round, they beat 6 seed Texas by 10. And then looking at how 15 seed St. Peter's got here, they won their first matchup by beating 2 seed Kentucky. They went with the biggest upset of the tournament so far. They ended up beating 2 seed Kentucky by 6 in overtime to make it to the second round. And in the second round, they would beat 7 seed Murray State by 10. So that is how both these teams made it here. Looking at the second matchup of the day at 7:29 on TBS in the United Center in Chicago. In the Midwest region, the last remaining 1 seed, the Kansas Jayhawks out of the Big 12, are going to face off against the 4 seed Providence Friars out of the Big East. 1 seed Kansas made it to the Sweet 16 after beating 16 seed Texas Southern by 27 in the first round. They also went on to beat 9 seed Creighton by 7 in the second round. 4 seed Providence is here after beating 13 seed South Dakota State by 9 points in the first round. They also went on to beat 12 seed Richmond by 12. So that is how Providence made it here. Taking a look at the third matchup of the day at 9:39 on CBS in the Wells Fargo Center, back to the East region. The 4 seed UCLA Bruins are going to face off against the 8 seed North Carolina Tar Heels to see who will go to the Elite 8. This matchup will be looking at how these 2 teams are, how they made it here. The 4 seed UCLA Bruins beat 13 seed Akron by 4 in the first round before beating 5 seed St. Mary's by 16 in the second round. 8 seed UNC would beat 9 seed Marquette by 32 in the first round before beating top seed Baylor by 7 in the second round. And then looking at this matchup, the winner of this matchup will face off against the winner of Purdue and 15 seed St. Peter's in the Elite 8, and that matchup will more than likely take place on Sunday. And then looking at the last matchup of the day at 10 o'clock on TBS in the United Center back in Chicago in the Midwest region, the 10 seed Miami Hurricanes will face off against the 11 seed Iowa State Cyclones. 10 seed Miami made it to the Sweet 16 after beating 7 seed USC by 2 in the first round. They beat 2 seed Auburn by 18 in the second round to make it here. 11 seed Iowa State beat 6 seed LSU by 5 in the first round before beating Wisconsin by 5 in the second round. Both those games took place in Milwaukee. And the winner of Miami Iowa State will face off against the winner of against the winner of Kansas and Providence in the Elite Eight, as that matchup will be on Sunday too. By the end of today, there will be 8 teams left in the men's March Madness bracket. Taking a look at what's going on the women's side of the bracket, starting off with the first 1 seed that's playing today, as is going to be played in 2 bunches. Just looking at the first couple, at 7 o'clock, the ESPN matchup will feature the 1 seed in the Greensboro region as the South Carolina Gamecocks face off against the 5 seed North Carolina Tar Heels in Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. 1 seed South Carolina would end up making it all the way to this round after beating 16 seed Howard by 58 in the first round. They ended up beating 8 seed Miami by 16 in the second round. 5 seed UNC made it to the Sweet 16 after beating 12 seed Stephen F. Austin by 13 in the first round, and then they beat 4 seed Arizona by 18 in the second round. Looking at the second matchup of the day, and looking at the Spokane region, and looking at the game that's going to be on ESPN2 at 7 o'clock, the 2 seed Texas Longhorns are going to face off against the 6 seed Ohio State Buckeyes in Washington. Looking at how they got here, 2 seed Texas beat 15 seed Fairfield by 18 in the first round before beating 7 seed Utah by 22 in the second round on their home court. 6 seed Ohio State won their games in Baton Rouge as they beat 11 seed Missouri State by 7 in the first round before beating 3 seed LSU by 15 on LSU's home court. The winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between Stanford and Maryland. Speaking of Stanford and Maryland, at 9:30 on ESPN, looking at the second round of games, the ESPN game will feature the 1 seed here as the defending champ Stanford Cardinal face off against the 4 seed Maryland Terrapins. 1 seed Stanford made it to the Sweet 16 after beating 16 seed Montana State by 41 points in the first round. They would go on to beat 8 seed Kansas by 26 in the second round. 4 seed Maryland won their games in their home court in College Park, Maryland, as they won their first matchup against 13 seed Delaware. They won this one by 31 before beating 12 seed Florida Gulf Coast by 24. The winner of Stanford and Maryland will face off against the winner between Texas and Ohio State in Spokane, as that matchup will be taking place on Sunday. And then looking at the last matchup of the day today at 9:30 on ESPN2 in the Greensboro region in the Greensboro Coliseum, the 3 seed Iowa State Cyclones are going to face off against the 10 seed Creighton Blue Jays. 3 seed Iowa State made it to this round after beating 14 seed UT Arlington by 7 in the first round. In the second round, they beat 6 seed Georgia by 23 points. 10 seed Creighton made it to the Sweet 16 after they beat 7 seed Colorado by 10 in the first round. They went on to beat 2 seed Iowa by 2 in the second round to make it here. So by the end of today, there will be 12 teams left in the Sweet 16, as the Sweet 16 round of the tournament will end tomorrow. So that's where we are in the midst of the second of 3 weekends of March Madness. Taking a look at what's going on in the NBA, starting off in Toronto, north of the border, the Raptors hosted the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Raptors would end up beating the Cavaliers 117-104. They won this game by 13 after outscoring the Cavs by 10 in the first half, by 8 in the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Cleveland Cavaliers were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Lauri Markkanen. Markkanen finished with 20 points and 5 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. Cleveland's all-star starting point guard Darius Garland finished with 18 points and 10 assists in 38 minutes. He also had 3 rebounds in that span. He shot 7 for 18 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Kevin Love, finished with 12 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 steals in 33 minutes. He shot 5 for 8 from the field and 2 for 5 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Toronto Raptors were led in scoring by their starting power forward, former most improved player Pascal Siakam. He finished with 35 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists as well in 32 minutes. He shot 12 for 20 from the field, 6 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their all-star starting shooting guard out of Wichita State, Fred VanVleet, finished with 10 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 blocks in 39 minutes. He shot 4 for 9 from the field and 2 for 5 from 3. With this win, the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers are both 41 and 32. The Cavs have lost their last 2 games, whereas the Raptors have won 7 of their last 3. The Cavs have lost 5 of their last 10. They both are tied for that 6th best record, sitting a game behind the 5th place Chicago Bulls in the Eastern Conference playoff picture. They both sit 3 games ahead of the 8th place Brooklyn Nets, and they trail the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 6 games at the moment. Jumping out to Memphis, the Grizzlies hosted the Indiana Pacers. The Grizzlies would end up beating the Pacers 133-103. They won this game by 30 to be the 3rd team in the NBA to clinch a playoff berth. They won this game by 30 after outscoring the Pacers by 21 in the first quarter, by 26 in the first half. They would outscore the Pacers by 10 in the third, so they would go on to outscore them by 36 in the first 3 quarters of the game. On the losing end of this matchup, the Indiana Pacers were led in scoring by their guard off the bench, Lance Stevenson. Stevenson finished with 25 points in 23 minutes. He shot 10 for 15 from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Memphis Grizzlies were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of TCU, Desmond Bain. He finished with 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 24 minutes. He shot 12 for 15 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt on the day. Their starting power forward, Jaren Jackson Jr., finished with 20 points and 2 blocks in 17 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and he made both of his free throws. With this win, the Memphis Grizzlies are now 51 and 23. That is the 2nd best record in the Western Conference, as they are one of only 2 teams in the NBA that have won at least 50 games this season. The Grizzlies have won their last 3 games. They've won 8 of their last 10. And in the Western Conference playoff picture, they are the 2nd team to have clinched a playoff spot. They sit 9 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns, as the Grizzlies are currently looking at 8 more games left in their schedule. And they are sitting 2.5 games ahead of the 3rd place Golden State Warriors. To get a sense of where they are sitting 8 games ahead of the 6th place Denver Nuggets, as they have officially clinched a solid playoff spot. They do not have to play in a play-in game this year. With this loss, the Indiana Pacers are 25 and 49. That is the 3rd worst record in the East. They've now lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 11.5 games behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, as the Pacers are currently have 8 games left in their schedule as well. They are one of 3 teams in the Eastern Conference that have been eliminated from playoff contention, as they sit alongside the Detroit Pistons and the Orlando Magic at the moment. Taking a look at what happened in Milwaukee, the defending champs Bucks hosted the Washington Wizards. The Bucks would beat the Wizards 114-102. They won this game by 12 after they outscored the Wizards by 19 points in the first quarter and then by 8 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Washington Wizards would be led in scoring by their point guard off the bench, Ish Smith. Smith finished with 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists in 28 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field. And on the winning end of this matchup, the hometown defending champs Milwaukee Bucks were led in scoring by their starting point guard out of UCLA, Drew Holiday. Holiday finished with 24 points, 10 assists, and 6 turnovers in 33 minutes. Holiday shot 10 for 18 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt of the day. Their starting shooting guard out of Duke, Grayson Allen, finished with 21 points in 29 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, and he made both of his free throws as well. Milwaukee starting center Bobby Portis finished with 11 points and 12 rebounds in 29 minutes. He shot 5 for 11 from the field as he made his only 3-pointer. With this win, the Milwaukee Bucks are now 46 and 27. That is the 2nd best record in the Eastern Conference win percentage wise. They've now won their last 2 games and they've won 8 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they trailed the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by a game, as the Bucks have 9 games left in their schedule. With this loss, they also sit half a game ahead of the Philadelphia 76ers, who have the 3rd best record in the East. They also sit half a game ahead of the 4th place Boston Celtics, who have the 4th, who have one more win and one more loss than the 76ers. And on the losing end of this matchup, the Washington Wizards are now 30-42. That is the fourth worst record in the Eastern Conference. They've now lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 8 of their last 10. With 10 games left in their schedule, the Wizards are sitting 5.5 games behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture. They are the lowest. They are the active team in the Eastern Conference with the lowest win percentage at the moment. Taking a look at what happened in New Orleans, the 10-seed New Orleans Pelicans hosted the Chicago Bulls. The Pelicans would beat the Bulls 126-109. They won this matchup by 17 after they outscored the Bulls by 16 in the fourth quarter. They also outscored the Bulls by 9 in the second quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Chicago Bulls were led in scoring by their all-star starting shooting guard out of UCLA, Zach LaVine. LaVine finished with 39 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 5 turnovers in 40 minutes. He shot 12 for 23 from the field, 4 for 11 from 3, and he shot 11 for 13 from the foul line. Their point guard off the bench out of UNC, Kobe White, finished with 23 points, 6 assists, and 6 fouls in 29 minutes. He shot 9 for 15 from the field and 5 for 8 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Pelicans were led in scoring by their starting point guard out of Kansas, Devontae Graham. Graham finished with 30 points in 29 minutes. He shot 8 for 12 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, and he would go on to make all 9 of his free throws on the day. Their starting shooting guard, CJ McCollum, finished with 25 points and 6 assists in 33 minutes. He shot 10 for 20 from the field and 4 for 5 from the foul line. The Pelicans starting center, Jonas Valanciunas, finished with 16 points, 19 rebounds, and 5 turnovers. He did all of this in 34 minutes. He shot 5 for 12 from the field and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the New Orleans Pelicans are now 31-42. They are tied with the Lakers for the 9th best record in the Western Conference. The Pelicans have won 4 of their last 10 games, and in the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 4.5 games behind the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers. They are sitting 2 games ahead of the 11th place San Antonio Spurs as they have 9 games left in their schedule. With this loss, the Chicago Bulls are now 42-31. That is the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've now lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 7 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 3.5 games behind the 3rd place Philadelphia 76ers and the 4th place Boston Celtics. They sit a game ahead of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors, who are tied for the 6th best record in the conference. They right now are trailing the Miami Heat by 5 games in the conference as they have 9 games left in their schedule. So that is what that matchup is looking like. Last but not least, jumping out to the Mile High City in Denver, the Nuggets hosted the Phoenix Suns. The Suns would be the first team in the NBA to hit 60 wins after they beat the Nuggets 140-130. They won this game by 10 after outscoring the Nuggets by 12 in the fourth quarter to overcome their 12-point deficit. To overcome their 2-point deficit, On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Denver Nuggets were led in scoring by their elite starting center, the NBA's reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic. He finished with 28 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and 8 turnovers in 32 minutes. He shot 9 for 10 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 9 for 11 from the foul line. And then their point guard off the bench, Bones Highland, finished with 23 points in 25 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and 5 for 9 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Aaron Gordon, finished with 21 points and 6 rebounds in 33 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field, and he made his only free throw. On the winning end of this matchup, the Phoenix Suns were led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard, Devin Booker. Booker finished with 49 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists, and 3 steals in 39 minutes. He shot 16 for 25 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3. He shot 15 for 17 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, Mikal Bridges, finished with 22 points in 38 minutes. He shot 8 for 9 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and he made all 3 of his free throws on the day. The Suns' elite starting point guard out of Wake Forest, Chris Paul, will go on to finish with 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 13 assists in 30 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and he shot a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the Phoenix Suns are now 60-14. That is the best record in the Western Conference and the best record in the NBA. They're the first team to cross the 60-win threshold. They may be the only team to cross the 60-win threshold, and so far they're the only team in the NBA that has won at least 70 and 80% of their games. They've won their last 7 games. The Suns are owning the longest active winning streak in the Western Conference, and their 7-game winning streak is the longest active winning streak in the NBA. They are sitting 9 games ahead of the second-place Memphis Grizzlies, as the Suns have 8 games left in their schedule. They have officially clinched the best record in the Western Conference, as they are one of 2 teams in the West that have officially clinched a playoff spot. With this loss, the Denver Nuggets are 43-31. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference. They've lost 5 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 2.5 games behind the Utah Jazz and the Dallas Mavericks, who are tied for the 4th best record in the conference. The Nuggets are sitting a game ahead of the 7th place Minnesota Timberwolves, as they trail the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 17 games with 8 games left in their schedule at the moment. The highest seed they can get at the moment is possibly the 2 seed and probably the 3 seed. So that is what the Nugget season is looking like. That's what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's matchups, as 3 teams have clinched playoff spots and 5 teams have been eliminated from playoff contention. Taking a look at what's going on today. Today is Friday, so the primetime matchups. Our matchup today is going to be on NBA TV. At 10:30 in the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Clippers are going to host the Philadelphia 76ers. The Clippers are holding the 8th best record in the West, as they've lost their last 4 games. The 76ers enter this matchup with the 3rd best record in the East, as they've won their last 2 and 6 of their last 10. They sit a game and a half behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. Outside of the primetime game at 7 o'clock, the Charlotte Hornets are going to host the Utah Jazz in the Spectrum Center. At the same time, the Detroit Pistons, who are holding the 2nd worst record in the East, are going to host the Washington Wizards. At 7:30 on NBA TV, the game before the Clippers Sixers is going to see the Atlanta Hawks, the 10th best team in the East, host the Golden State Warriors, who hold the 3rd best record in the West. The Hawks enter this matchup having lost 5 of their last 10, as they sit 5 games ahead of the New York Knicks, who are the first team on the outside of the picture looking in. They sit a game behind the 9th place Hornets too. The Warriors are holding the 3rd best record in the West, as they sit 2.5 games behind the 2nd place Grizzlies. And they are currently sitting with about 7 games left in their schedule at the moment. At the same time, or at 8 o'clock in the FTX Arena, the Miami Heat are going to host the New York Knicks. At 8 at the same time, the Timberwolves are going to host the Dallas Mavericks, as this could be a potential playoff matchup. And then at 10, the Portland Trailblazers are going to host the Houston Rockets, as the Rockets have already been eliminated from playoff contention. So that's what the NBA is looking like going into today. Looking at yesterday's big soccer matchups, because we saw a lot of FIFA World Cup qualifying matchups, the USA would end up drawing with Mexico, as Canada ended up losing to Costa Rica. Canada is still sitting at the very top of the table, as they sit 3 points ahead of the U.S. and Mexico. So that is what the North American table is looking like following those matchups. In the World Cup qualifying matches in Europe, Italy would end up getting knocked out of qualifying contention, as they lost to North Macedonia 1-0. North Macedonia would win this game in the 92nd minute thanks to a goal from Alexander Trzaskowski in the 92nd minute. Portugal would end up beating Turkey 3-1 in their matchup, with their goals coming from Otavio, Diogo Jota, and then their last goal would come from Mateus Nunes in the 94th minute. So they, of course, are still alive for that time being. Wales would end up beating Austria 2-1, as both their goals came from Gareth Bale. Austria would end up seeing their only goal come after his from Marcel Sabitzer. In South America, Brazil would end up beating Chile 4-0, as they would get a penalty kick goal from their elite forward, Neymar. They would get goals from Vinicius Jr., Phil Coutinho, and Richarlison in the second half. That would be the very big matchup in South America, as Uruguay was also able to beat Peru. Their goal will come in the 42nd minute from Jorjan de Araceta. Those would be the big matchups in South America. and South Korea would end up beating Iran 2-0 in its matchup, as its first goal will come from Son Heung-min. With that said, that's everything that I have for you. But taking a look at what's going on today in the world of soccer, we're going to see more FIFA World Cup qualifying, as Argentina is going to face off against Venezuela at 7:30. In the Central African, in the Cup of African football, looking at the African teams, Cameroon's going to face off against Algeria at 1 o'clock. The reigning runners-up, Egypt, are going to face off against Senegal, the reigning AFCON champs. Ghana is going to face off against Nigeria at 3:30, as these are all first leg matchups. And that's virtually everything that I have, as all the other matchups today are going to be international friendlies. Notable countries having international friendlies today mainly are France, as France hosts the Ivory Coast at 4:15. But with that said, that's everything that I have for today, for Friday, March 25th. Once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Saturday, March 26th for another episode. And until then, I want to thank everyone once again for listening. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with another episode tomorrow. I want to thank the ESPN, the NCAA, the NBA, and FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures that I need. And once all of this is done, I'll come back tomorrow. And until then, thanks for listening. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more tomorrow. Peace out.